Thank you for joining us. This is our first lesson, Intro to Integers. The first question that we have is, what is an integer? As that is what the entire lesson about. Remember that throughout these video presentations, you can always pause and wait and write down whatever you need to write down. So this would be a good time to pause, write down some notes, and then come back to hear some more. Thank you for joining us again. So an integer is a whole number and its opposite. Whole number and its opposite. Here are all of our whole numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Whole numbers are what we use to count, and they include 0. So all of these are our whole numbers. Their opposites are down here. We're going to break this number line up a little bit, starting here with the natural numbers. When you are young, you learn how to count naturally, starting with 1. So my counting numbers that I naturally start to count with are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No fractions, no decimals. We never learn anything along that lines. We just learn our natural numbers. After our natural numbers, we learn about our whole numbers. Notice the only difference is the 0. The only difference between the natural numbers and the whole numbers number line is that the zero was added. So we have natural numbers starting with 1 because I learned to count with them naturally, and whole numbers include 0. Again, pause so you can write down any notes that you need if we go too quickly. All right. Absolute value. Absolute value is the distance away from 0, and it's always positive. A distance is positive. If I travel from work to home, I have a certain amount of mileage that I accrue. And if I travel back to work, my mileage does not erase. It does not go backward. I get more miles. So in order to travel a distance, I always have to be a positive value. The symbol for absolute value are these two lines right next to each other. Similar to quotations around something that you would say, these are words that I would say, I would put quotations around it. I need to put these absolute value lines around the numbers that I want to know the distance from 0 for. So a for instance would be, if I wanted to find the absolute value of negative 10, I would put the negative 10 in between these absolute value lines. And then what I'm asking you is, what is the distance from 0? How far away from 0 is that negative 10? Well, if we went back and visited this number line, we could see that negative 10 is right here, and here is 0. So how far away from 0 are we? We could count, or in this case, we would just know that we are 10 places away from 0. So the answer to this, the absolute value of negative 10, is 10. It is 10 places away. In case you come to the word opposite and you're unsure of its meaning, opposite of a positive is negative, and opposite of a negative is a positive. All right, so we did some of these in class. Let's change it up a little bit. It doesn't really make a big difference, but we'll call that 15, 210. If I wanted to know what happened 15 years ago, well, I know that right now it is the year 2015. 15 years ago, it was 2000. What did I have to do to go from 2015 to 2000? Well, I had to subtract a 15. 2,000 years ago, as an integer, as a number, is negative 15. If I wanted to talk about something that's going to happen in 210 years, maybe we will finally get those flying cars like the Jetsons had. In 210 years from now, what year would it be? Well, if it is 2015 now, to figure out what it would be in 210 years, I would need to add 210. So the integer for this is simply plus 210, a positive 210. Sometimes we don't even use the plus sign, we just say 210. All right, you try these on your own, hit pause, come back for an answer. Okay, hopefully you're able to get an answer of negative 13. If it happened to go, it is 13. 8 years from now, it's going to be in 8 years, so I will add 8. Good job. All right, when talking about a number line, there's a few things that we need to make sure you note. Note that the negatives are always to the left of 0. They are always to the left of 0. And the positive in that case are always to the right of 0. Know that as I go to the right, my numbers increase no matter where I start. So I could start here, and as I go to the right, my numbers increase. They get larger. They have a higher value. So negative 3 has a higher value. It is larger than negative 9 because I would be moving to the right. Negative 3 has a larger value. It is closer to 0, it's closer to 0, and I move to the right, is positive. The other large thing that we need to remember when we're talking about number lines is the spacing. Make sure your spacing is the same. If I want to make this represent 1 year, this cannot represent 7. This would also have to represent 1. We want our number lines to stay consistent. All right, so what I'm going to have you do is hit pause and practice the first few problems here. Which number is larger? And then I want you to unpause it, come back, and get the answers. All right, hopefully you were able to say that 10 was larger, 3 is larger, negative 4 is larger. When I look at the number line, here's negative 4, here's negative 10. Negative 4 is the one furthest to the right. It's closest to 0 for the negatives. Negative 2 is larger. Again, when I compare the two, I'll pick a different color here. Negative 2 and negative 5. Negative 2 is closer. Which number is larger between 1 and 0? Well, hopefully 1. $1 is better than no dollars. And negative 3 or 0, in this case, I would rather have no dollars than have negative $3. So that is just one way that you can think about integers, think about money, or think about where they are in relation to 0 on the number line. All right, here is another example for you. Choosing less than or greater than, decide which answer is which. Pause it, complete it, and come back. Hopefully you were able to figure out that that one, 5, was less than 7. That negative 5 is less than negative 3. 4 is greater than negative 4. And 2 is less than 9. Remember, always go back and use the number line if it's something that you need to review. It is okay to do that. Ordering numbers from least to greatest, I always find it helpful to imagine and or draw a number line, and I'm going to start it at 0, and look, I already took care of one of my numbers. I'm then going to go to the right, just for me, because it's easier. There's a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, that's a negative 3, so I don't need that one. 7, 8, 9, 10. Then I'm going negative as well. 1, 2, 3, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, negative 6, negative 7. So I have negative 7, 0, 7, negative 3, and 10. Now they're already in order. So all I do is copy those down. Negative 7, negative 3, 0, 7, and 10. All right. You try one for yourself. Hit pause, come back, and let me know what you got. Hopefully you were able to get an answer that looks like this. All right, absolute value. Remember at the beginning we talked about absolute value being a distance from 0. So when I see these two lines, what that is asking me is on a number line, how far is negative 5 from 0? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. How far away from 0 is that? It is 5. All I'm asking you for is the distance. So in the case of this 7, if I started at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, how far away from 0 is 7? The answer would be 7. Again, it's positive. It's a distance. I just want to know how far. Pause it, try these two, and then come back. Hopefully for these two, maybe you tried all 4. You were able to get 12, 17, And these two are tricky. Remember what we said is it's inside the absolute value. So what is inside is how far away is 9? 9 is 9 away from 0. This negative sign, since it's on the outside, still means it's negative. So in this case, what do I want to know how far away from 0 it is? 2. 2 is 2 places away from 0, and it's negative. So let's try a few of these. I'll walk you through one. We have one here. Evaluate. Fancy word for solve. Find the answer. What does it mean? Absolute value of what number? Well, the 5 is on the inside. So how far from 0 is 5? It is 5. Then I need to do this one. How far away from 0 is 5? It is 5. Now I need to take those away. What is 5 minus 5? 0. Hit pause. Try this one. Try those two. Then come on back. All right. Hopefully you were able to remember that inside the absolute value signs is what I'm talking about. So how far away from 0 is 6? It is 6. Inside the absolute value signs is a negative 5. How far away from 0 is negative 5? It is 5. Then I need to take them away, and I get 1. In this case, I need to figure out what is the absolute value of this. Now, we haven't talked about this in class yet, but you've had some experience with negative numbers before. If I had a 6, can I take away 9? No, I'm going to get a negative 3. And if you didn't get this one, that's okay. We can talk about it more later in class, specifically tomorrow. And here we have 5 minus 3, which is 2, and I want the absolute value of that. How far away from 0 is negative 3? It is 3. How far away from 0 is 2? It is 2. And if I subtract them, I get a 1. So my final answer for this one is a 1. This is going to be solved the same exact way. I'm not going to walk through them all. The only thing I'm going to tell you is that if x equals negative 4, I need to put this negative 4 right where that x is. So I have the absolute value signs, but instead of that x, I write a negative 4 and I add 13. Down here, x is negative 2. Here is the x. So I have my absolute value signs, but inside there is a negative 2 and I add 7. Pause it, find the answers, come back. In this case, I hope you found the answer to be a positive 17. And in this case, I hope you found the answer to be a positive 9. Write the opposites. Well, remember the opposite of a negative is a positive. So the opposite of a negative 9 is a positive 9. The opposite of a positive 2 is a negative 2. And since 0 is neither, we'll just have a 0 here. Try these, pause it, and come back. The answer to this is negative 10. Positive 15, positive 5. Does absolute value and opposite mean the same thing? And the answer is a capital N-O. Remember, absolute value, the most important thing to remember is that it is a distance. And specifically, it's the distance from 0. You need to know how far from 0 this value is. So no, they do not mean the same thing, and that is very, very important to remember. I hope that this helped you a little bit. If not, and you need some further assistance, please go to the Khan Academy.com, and under the search, you can type in comparing integers, and another topic would simply be absolute value. And those, whoops, can't spell, sorry, absolute value. And those would be two sites that you can use to help further your understanding of this concept. Thank you very much.